How do people figure out the usage to activation to then we know how fast we close customers, we know all of the data, and probably a lot of people have that, but how do you track usage and activation? What would be your execution plan to do that?
Yeah, one of the things you have to remember is nobody actually knows anything, even if they just sold for $1 billion and they want to project all their great advice on you to make them feel good. No one really knows anything, right? So ultimately, we don't either. The best way to figure out your actual activation metric is, guess for a year, and at the end of the year, go into Stripe and export your customer list, and then sort by who has paid the most versus who has paid the least. And then the top people, the top 10 that have paid you the most, just email them and say, we're canceling your account, right? ... That's the subject line.
Love
and
that.
The email is, unless we can understand why the hell you're paying us so much money. That's the text. And then basically they will write back and say, oh my God, please don't cancel our account. We need this because boom. That is your activation metric. You then have to align your entire development team, your entire sales team to get people to hit that boom, in the first X days, right, across X team members, across this many use cases.
Yep.
That's how you figure it out.
The thing I learned about recruiting was that is where I really started to realize the importance of, talking about compound interest, compound networking, right? Give first, because we had nothing to sell. There was no jobs, and I still had to hit a quota of reaching out to people. So what I would do is I would just go and network with people, and I would ask them questions, and I would learn. And so I guess what I learned there was, number one, no matter what anyone says, people will always put themselves first, right? That's not a negative. In that market, people were losing their jobs left and right. And I was like, listen, I don't have a job to offer you. And they would still because they were in panic mode, right? The world is in panic mode. But people, so when you know that, and you can genuinely care, and you can genuinely apply empathy to that situation, because that sucks for them. I had a job and they didn't, and there's nothing I could do about it. I wanted to help. You start getting to the core of somebody. I learned something from a mentor of mine there, which was, you don't see the true person when they're down. Everyone goes, oh, when people are down, that's when you see the true me. No, it's when people are up. It's when they're up, when they're kicking ass. What are they like then? Are they going to take your call then? Are they going to help somebody cross the street then? Are they going to give money to a homeless guy then? That's what I learned then. And you saw, and that's where my network really started to thrive, is because I had the ability to separate those people. No one was making money, including me. All we had is time. So getting to really build that network for me, which was good, but then really getting to understand how people react, and who those people were that were acting one of two ways: desperation, sadness, whatever, or I'm going to take this opportunity, to build something, or I'm going to have a better attitude and I'm going to get out of this rut.
What was eye-opening to me was what she found in her research about what's called the accidental diminisher. And that is the person who is the manager and sees the person who works for them struggling, right? Or in sales, they're on a sales pitch and they're bumbling it, and they come in and they save it, right? And they help them out. Or they've got a deadline, they see they're not going to make the deadline and getting a proposal out, they come by their desk and they say, let me help you finish this out, right? And they might be helping them finishing up and trying to teach them along the way, but they're still the one who's really doing the work, and they didn't let them fail, right? And when somebody does that, a lot of times they think they're being a great manager. They're helping their person out. They're trying to make sure that they don't fail. They're trying to help them succeed in their role. But what they're actually doing is they're almost as bad as that diminisher. Not as bad, but almost as bad, because they are not really helping them to grow. They're not helping them to understand how to plan their time better. They're not understanding how their sales pitch is leading them to a dead end, and they're going to lose that deal, right? And it is much better to allow those people to go through the motions and let them fail, right? And then coach them and talk to them about better ways to do it. And it's tough. It's tough for managers to step back. But what happens is, not only do people not grow, they feel resentful that their manager is coming in and doing it. And then they, worse than that, become often codependent, where then they can't do any of the tasks without their manager. And I realized that I am an accidental diminisher to the nth degree. I would come in under the guise of helping my team and thinking I'm being a good guy and trying to not let them fail. And I was diminishing them. and not letting them grow and not letting them learn and not letting them fail. And so I've really been working on stepping back in every meeting. I try to be the last one to speak. I don't chime in and give all my ideas. I let my team debate it out, talk through it. If they're giving a pitch or whatnot, I'm going to step back, and I'm just going to let it go. And I'm going to take notes and try to help them potentially afterwards. But I'm not going to step in and get in their business, because at the end of the day, this is their thing. And when you jump in, it becomes your thing. And that doesn't feel very good.
Yes.
What was your biggest success or learning experience, takeaway, level up from doing the retail and retail management?
I think understanding a sales process, understanding timing, you got to be there. I think the biggest thing I walked away from there when I think about that time was when I moved from the Gap to Gap Kids. I was the first manager they hired. I wasn't the store manager. I was going to be an assistant manager, but the store manager hadn't come yet. So I was the one who had to do all the interviews. So for 2 days straight, I had to go through all the applications, decide who I wanted to have come in for a face-to-face interview. And I had interviews scheduled every 30 minutes for like 2 days straight. And I think that was sort of my exposure to interviewing, right? And I think that's where I probably made a lot of mistakes, but I think I probably just learned a lot. And it's just one of those things that sticks out in my mind of like, oh my God, 2 days of interviewing. So, and I probably interviewed every half hour. I probably interviewed like 50 people in 2 days. Like, that's crazy.
What are the top things that you look for when you interview salespeople now?
Completely different. I'm looking more for a willingness to learn, probably more so. Okay. A willingness to be quiet, more so. I was never very successful at hiring the athlete or the former athlete. I don't know if it's because I'm not, the superstar athlete guy. I know a lot of sales leaders who are, and that's the model they go after. But I never had a good success with athletes. I also never had good success with musicians. Okay. From my style, I think I was a little bit more personal and personable. And so, let's be honest, it was probably more me than them, right? I was probably in that mode of, let me hire more people like me than let me find people who are different from me to make me better.
But now you're saying you hire for like willingness to learn, willingness to listen.
Yep. Willingness to listen, people who have courage and confidence, or have enough courage and confidence so that then I could encourage them to do more once I teach them, the strategies I teach, and I teach them the why factor. I do think there needs to be a certain level of competitiveness. You do have to like to win, but it doesn't need to be cutthroat in my mind. I'm not looking for that. I don't want cutthroat salespeople. They're more cancerous and negative than anything. While they can be massively successful, the moment they have a downturn, they become very, very cancerous, in my opinion. And I just, I'll manage those people right out the door.
I was looking at like what other businesses I could start, and one of the things I was doing was like arbitrage on Upwork, like selling Facebook likes and other things where if people didn't know how to use programs like awesome. Fiverr and Upwork. I can like sell it to them for more money and then get the service done, online. And what I realized is like all of it combined equaled social media campaigns and social media marketing. At the same time, Yelp, Foursquare, Facebook for Business was really starting to pick up. So we built a business almost overnight. I locked myself in my Arizona apartment. I was at Arizona State still at the time, and I had two of my buddies come down from LA that were trying to get out of their jobs that they hated. So we locked ourselves in the apartment for like 2 weeks with like Chipotle, a bunch of beer, Red Bulls, Monster Energy drinks, 5-Hour Energies, and Adderall probably. And cranked out a business. And at the end of 2 weeks, we did like 5K in sales on this new business. And we're like, all right. And all we wanted to do was run it from like Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and like surf during the days, do some work and hang out on the beach. It was more like, we all gotta to get in career mode after we graduate. But like, why not see if we can like make this a job, 4-hour work week style. So started there, and because of my background in the arbitrage, I was able to build out like virtual assistant teams and get a lot of the work done that you would charge for let's say an American worker to do that you can outsource for a lot cheaper. And that kind of set the stage. I mean, if I were to recommend anybody starting a business right now where they wanted to build a lifestyle business, I would do that. That's what it's in an instant. That's the easiest thing to spin up and do.
Like when you say do that, like start a consulting, like a remote consulting company?
Some kind of arbitrage where I would hire people in the Philippines or remotely to do the work, and then I would
Upsell
charge. Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
Like a lot of the content, SEO, keyword research, what else? There are a lot of things that we do in the background at Sales Hacker, you know, in the past that we outsource. And it's not to like an outsourced organization. Like we hire people in the Philippines and India and they do the work.
Just get it done.
So you're paying people like
A few bucks an hour.
$1,000 to $1,500 a month instead of $10,000 to $15,000 a month for similar quality work, really.
Yep.